do a lot of video production. That's actually how we got our start. Virtual tours, photos, and videos. And interesting enough, we actually blossomed to be a full service marketing agency as well. So we do a lot of SEO ads now, website design, pretty much social media. I mean, anything you really need full service. So it was nice. I mean, we'll talk about the story and how I got into everything, I'm sure later on, but it's great. I mean, we've been doing business. It's actually our 10-year anniversary, Sean, this month
Wow.
in September. So been doing it for a decade. It doesn't feel like 10 years. I'll be honest. It feels like a snap of the fingers, a bolt of light. And yeah, there you go. But yeah, man, I mean, we've been around for 10 years. You know, we've been very fortunate to been on the Inc. 5000 back-to-back years now. The Philadelphia 100, which is fastest 100 growing companies in the city. We've been on that, I think, like 6 or 7 years in a row now. So it's good. I mean, we're a happening company. We're growing, and we're here to go through that next level of growth, which I'm really happy about.
So where did you get your passion for this? I mean, to grow that quick and to, 10 years is not quick, but I mean, to get these type of accolades in 10 years, there's marketing companies and stuff like that have been around for decades that don't get these type of accolades. I mean, where does your passion come from?
You know, I've always had a chip on my shoulder, Sean, since I was a kid. I've always been very competitive in sports and academics, and just like me as a person, I think I'm like extremely type A. I mean, you can ask my parents, almost like, too much type A. But, I really think it stems from what ultimately happened at the end of high school into college, which we can kind of get into the story, I guess, now, where I was faced with a decision of what to actually do with my life. I'll tell you the story real quick. So my father at the time owned a big Irish bar in South Philly called the Boiler Room. Very Irish, name, obviously. So, it was about May. I went to Roman Catholic High School. I was actually getting ready to graduate. And my dad, notorious for throwing big parties. I was like, oh man, I can't wait. We're going to have this huge graduation party, whatever. And I remember, so my parents were divorced at the time. They, normally would, pass me off, Tuesdays and Thursdays. And it was a Thursday, and I was expecting my dad to get me or call me. That's what I was thinking. And, it was around 7 o'clock. He didn't show up. So I was like, oh, he's probably busy. He's probably going to call me later. So I get the call around 7:30. And Sean, it was one of the most ominous calls I've really ever had in my life. My dad says, Sean, there isn't going to be any party. There's not going to be any celebration for the time being. I've just been indicted by the federal government.
Oh, wow.
Click, hang up. So, it was this thing where, essentially, we can go through the backstory of it, but really I had to scramble and start to provide, for myself and like for my dad and mom. And, it was this whole trajectory that lasted up until I graduated college, where I just needed to have that provider mindset at a very young age. So that's, I think, what really put the precedent in, kind of my head.
And as a young man getting that call and your father saying, there's an indictment going on, like what's the first thing going through your mind? I couldn't imagine. Like my dad, don't get me wrong, Dad, I love you if you're listening to the podcast. We all make mistakes in life, but I was like, wow, like I couldn't imagine getting that phone call if that was my father.
Yeah, it was traumatic. I mean, it was such as I'm talking about it, I still visually experience me getting kind of worked up, and I can sense where I was. I was in my mom's, house in the living room. I was looking down at the floor, and I was my thought process immediately was, he's going to go to prison. He's going to go to prison for a long time. I'm not going to be able to ever see him again, really, in the real world. Ultimately, he did what, about 4.5 years, whatever it was. But it was crushing, man. I mean, listen, party aside, which we still had the party, by the way, which was great before you went away, which was very nice. I thought, I'm not really going to have a father. You know what I mean? I'm not going to have someone to kind of help me through college and to be able to ask for advice. So it was absolutely crushing, man. I mean, there were times where listen, during that week stretch of graduation, I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. I was anxious. I was more than depressed, and I was lost more than anything. I had no idea what I wanted to do with myself.
That's wow. That's a crazy story. So you had to live through the trial and everything like that too. I mean, did you have to testify or anything like that, or?
Well, here's the crazy thing. So I had during the trial, I was tasked with, okay, do I want to go or do I not? I actually had this, like, and this is going to sound like kind of bad, but it's just the reality of the situation. I think I was like sick. I was in the hospital. Then I had like a bunch of exams, and I was just like, you know what? I'm dealing with so much already. Screw it. I'm not going to go, so I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to testify. But my uncle, who, again, I don't want to go too much in that, but he actually testified against my father. So
Okay.
his own brother testified, and it's honestly like The Godfather, like, Fredo betraying Michael. It was this crazy thing where he was, very jealous, has never really had real success in his life. He was the older brother of my father. So to see, oh, your younger brother doing better than you, there was like that kind of animosity. And he said some really nasty stuff to my father, man. And, it definitely didn't help sway the judge and, to give him less time, obviously, quite the opposite. So didn't go to the trial. My brother did. My mom did. My stepmom at the time did. So yeah, it was a whole family affair. And, I got a call when I was, finished everything, when I was like, recovery, when I rested. And it was the last call he, took as a civilian. He said, hey, I got about 50 months, 48 months, whatever it was. And next time I see you, I'm going to be in, federal prison. So that's what happened.